Why did you
My name is Zane Saidmar, and you covered most of my questions. My biggie was what time is Russ Carnahan going to be here? You mentioned something, though, in your presentation about the small businesses being able to get together as a larger group. Do you have specific plans to implement something like that, and how would you go about that?
Well,
are you on your own?
Yeah.
Together with a bunch of your friends, or what?
No, I think there's a couple answers. As a policy matter, I think Congress has already in the past, and Jim Talent was a great proponent of it, has created the legislation that allowed the businesses to do that. These sort of business healthcare plans. I believe that the next step on this is, and it should be it's a step that candidly Senator McCain and Senator Obama, then Senator Obama, embraced, and that is when it comes to individuals who are buying health care or small businesses, you can get, instead of tax deductibility as a business expense, you get a tax credit. You might remember the talk was of up to $5,000 or $6,000. That would be, right now, that's probably the quickest leveler for businesses to be able to afford to incentivize this kind of pooling and getting people together. That would be, as a policy matter, the first thing I would try to find is a way to use the tax credit system. And then I think what we need, and this is the thing we need most across the country, is we need elected officials who will be leaders. Instead of sitting in Washington, D.C. at a retreat with Nancy Pelosi, which is what Congressman Carnahan is, get out and say, what can we do? Because I go down Watson Road, for example, in the district. You go down Watson Road. If you're not a serious person, then you don't notice the fact that there are too many vacancies and too many things that are empty. And you say to yourself, is Watson Road going to turn into, and pick a road, candidly, north, that had once been businesses and all, and you worry about it. The Crestwood Mall, you worry about it. What's going to happen if we don't get anchors? Well, leadership is pulling together all those municipalities and businesses and saying, what can we do, either for health care or for to get things to work better, or public safety. And I think that's one of the things that we're missing on that issue that I think we could also, that I will be working on. Yes, sir.
Great to see you.
Yeah.
My name is Bert Walker. This 2,000-page bill, I've tried to read it through several iterations. And not only can't you read it because it references a bunch of other laws, a bunch of other bills that are pending that I don't have access to. So you start to read through it, it says, okay, you've got to now go to House Bill so-and-so and read that. You go through all of this. We need to get to the point where we have a bill that has one purpose. One time, one purpose, one bill. Because you get 5,000 things going like this, nobody can be for all 5,000 things. Somebody's going to object to something, so you can never get it passed.
Well, thank you. Did everyone here? I hope heard that comment. There's a couple of responses. The first one is this: I agree with you that these massive bills that try to do a million things that are written by, special interest lobbyists and staffers in the back dark recesses of the Capitol are not appropriate. Here's a couple things concretely you can do. I mean, one thing you can do is put every bill on the internet for 5 days before anyone gets to vote on it. And if you do that, it's 5 days isn't enough for normal people to read it. I agree with you. Me and you, let's lump together. It's not enough time. But there in the country, there are wonderfully not normal people who want to read stuff like that and go through it line after line, and will come up with what's in the bill. And in this day and age, someone told me about the 70s when you're in Congress. When someone was in Congress, they said, you didn't even have to tell people what you voted on because they didn't know. And if you voted all the time, you might get a story back home about a couple things, but they wouldn't know the rest of it. There was no internet. Very few people were going. So now the internet is a great enabler for this type of transparency. Then I think we also need now to admit something to ourselves and our country. And I don't think we change it lightly. I think we have an operating manual called the Constitution and its amendments to do it. But we've created such a bureaucratic society, a government, whether it's the regulatory government or the Congress. And we could probably do some things with the law or the Constitution to say sort of plain language bills, plain meaning, sort of that clarifies what we're doing and limits some of the ways that things are sort of hidden. And I think that's the kind of stuff that people are demanding and are coming to town halls about. So I think it's a good point. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Donnie Stevens, and I got like 3 points, but I'm going to make each one of them really quick. The first thing is, all of us who are opposed to the current legislation in all of its many forms need to stop talking in platitudes, stop talking in generalities. We need to speak to specific provisions of the bills. I know they're hard to get through, but I have a GED. I'm not the brightest, star in the sky. I can tell you about medical loss ratios. I can tell you about the plain text language in the bill. I can tell you about rescission in the bills. That's about all I've got through in the Senate version. And I've got notes at home on my computer, but I can talk about those points. And none of them do us any good. As conservatives, we need to have our own legislation written, not 2 or 3 plans, not amendments. We need to have legislation written to counter what they've written. We've got to. The other thing, the 2 biggest things, that I can see that really need to be done for healthcare reform are things that will free healthcare to the free market, that hamper it. Number 1, employment has no place in healthcare. No place. We should provide our healthcare on a completely free and open market, no matter who we work for. Divorce it from employment. If I leave my current employer, I want to keep my same insurance, just like when I get my car insurance. The other thing is, we can't tell the health insurance industry, you have to do this in this state and this in that state, just like you said with the regulations. We have to bring the states together for that. That's nothing to do with the insurance industry. It's to do with the states. Every state has to standardize their regulations so that every insurer can operate in every state.
Thank you, Donnie. I'd like you to meet Donnie. He's on our congressional staff. He's going to be doing some bills with us. Thank you, Donnie.
By the way,
I like
I'm a
it.
disabled vet, and I've had good and bad experiences at the VA.
Well, great. Thank you for your service, Donnie. I appreciate it. I think Donnie made some great points, and let me say, I have already drafted the first bill that I'll file, and I think most people will like it, some people don't, but that's a very easy one. It's very simple, and it would be to amend the Constitution to create term limits for all members of Congress. Donnie, that's not a plan. That's my actual bill. So I just want to make sure, Donnie, I'm on his good graces. Yes, ma'am.